Welcome back to another episode. Today is August 19th. We are a week out from week zero, college football, and we are about 3 weeks out from the start of the regular season for the NFL. So, pretty much from here on out, still been kind of radio silence on Jay and Duran. So we'll just keep rolling with football, officially turning the page. And what we'll dive into is just touching in a little bit more on Michigan. Just so we got kind of like media day going, hearing more about stuff from camp. We'll dive into some of that, what some of these outlets are saying about what they expect from them. And what to talk about the Lions. Since the last time we were on, um, they have had Jahmyr Gibbs signed an extension and played a preseason game with another preseason game on the 22nd. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But no, I think just to kick things off here, just want to see your thoughts. Start off with Michigan. Some of the stuff you've been just hearing, camp wise, expectations. I do feel like they're starting to kind of gain a little steam, like from a national standpoint, as we get closer to week one.
No, for sure. And they're gaining a little steam with me as well. I feel like my expectations are, I went in with, just kind of leveled expectations. Don't automatically think college football playoff. We automatically back. But as the summer progresses and you're hearing some things, you're watching a little bit of tape, what's leaking out from practice, and things are all looking positive. It looks like Bryce Underwood is slinging the ball. Team looks sound as far as I guess offensively, it looks like we have turned the page and we kind of at least have a form of an identity forming from what I read. They know what they're supposed to be doing out there as far as the first and second wave of teams. So, as far as Michigan football, I am ecstatic. You look at the week one, it couldn't come quick enough, fast enough for me. So I just want to see the boys go out there that first week. We're real vanilla, but I'm still looking forward to it. And then, obviously circle back, not to get too far ahead, but first to Oklahoma and really kind of see the work they put in throughout the offseason. See what Kyle Whittingham's installed. It's kind of the new look Michigan Wolverines here.
Yeah, I'm excited, looking forward to it as well. I think just really the talent, the thing that you're hearing is like a lot about. They kind of had, I think it was kind of some crazy talk about Bryce in the offseason. But starting to hear that, yeah, once he gets, some things kind of tweaked around him and is getting into this new offense. They're expecting some big things from him. We know what that run game going to bring. I think this is probably probably one of the more talented receiving rooms probably had in a very long time there. That wasn't really a priority. In the Harbaugh days, we got some serious talent on the outside. I think both sides of the ball. I mean, both sides of. Oh, I think the offense definitely. I think they're probably more the stronger side of the ball. Defense, I think there are some question marks with those linebackers, but I think the D line and secondary should be solid. But yeah, I mean, I was even hearing things also from a defensive side of the new defensive coordinator and how his um, scheme is similar to what Michigan's scheme was, that 2023 season. Pretty much, they kind of having that Baltimore Ravens type defense. So,
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to just kind of seeing how they can hit the ground running, especially if there's some continuity on the defensive side of the ball, that some guys can kind of get up to speed quicker. And just hoping to really just see like a good good clean product. You unfortunately don't get the ramp up you might want before Oklahoma rolls in, but curious to see what they'll look like when they do kick off here in a few weeks.
Right. And I think it's interesting to me that you said the defense might be the weaker part of the team because that's such a never happens around these part of the woods type of deal. The Michigan offense is always the weaker part. So it's either going to be a very unique season around these parts where the offense is carrying it, or it's going to be dire
Yeah,
when.
yeah,
Uh, I'd say the defense. I think where defense coordinator came over from what BYU, I want to say.
BYU.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so I remember when we first signed him, they act like he seems to be kind of one of those young masterminds that people are hype up about. One of those guys. So I would love to see what he can do in the Big Ten. Probably a little bit of a learning curve happening there, but looking across this defense, I mean, we hope for the best, but I don't know if you're going to have Rod Moore there for you know,
It says cleared.
15, 14 games. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but Zeke Berry has been around the block for a while. Where's my other man at? Jair Hill. I feel like he got put through the fire last year, baptized, and by the end of the year, he was making plays.
Mm-hmm.
Think he had a big play. Was it in the bowl game or maybe it was in the Ohio game? I think he had the pick in the Ohio game, I want to say.
Yeah, I
But
think he did.
he
Yeah, I think he did.
so you look at that from the beginning of the year where he was just getting targeted and picked on. So I think with that being said, you brought up the recruiting, and I think there's enough talent on that defense where if the defense coordinator knows what he's doing, putting right guys on in the right positions, making the right calls on the
Mm-hmm.
key downs, I think just knowing who we've recruited over the last half of the decade, last decade period, we got a lot of talent in that room. Uh, it's just a matter of getting them out there. So,
Yeah. No, no,
um,
and I hope I'm
offensively,
wrong. Or go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just say offensively, I think we pretty much can name the game. It's we know we can. We're going on a bad year we can run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce can throw the ball 200 miles an hour in 80 yards without from his butt. It's just a matter of we can get those third key down conversions. If we can move the change when we have to, maybe get the ball back with 2 minutes and 12 seconds on the ball at half. We get down and get a touchdown? Can we get down and get a field goal? Versus Indiana, versus Oklahoma, versus whatever. Those situational football. That's what we need from that offense, like we
Yeah.
did in 23, from that 21 to 23 range. We didn't have the best offense, but we had an offense that when we needed that third down, we got it. We went down
Mm-hmm.
and stole points at the end of the half. We went down and just kind of spread that margin. Defense, if they happen to collapse and give up a touchdown, it's not the end of the world. We got a good cushion there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just really what we need from that offense in order to be back in the playoff hunt. Just so what were you gonna say?
No, I was just, I'll kind of just make such on the defense, and I just hope I'm wrong. But just looking at some of these guys, you just got a lot of guys here that's going, got to prove themselves. Really, I think that's the biggest thing. Got a lot of experience on the D line. You got a lot of experience in the back end. But yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the head. Just it's like what can we do to play like the most like complementary football? We've talked, here for years how, I prefer the defense kind of set the tone, stop the run, and then you make teams one dimensional as quickly as possible. And then, yeah, I mean, the offense, I mean, I think both of these guys could probably sleepwalk for, with the O-line, how the Michigan O-line typically is, 800, 900 yards minimum. And if we continue to keep that going and I think I think what's so exciting is like, Bryce misses, he sees three or four open guys that he missed last year. I mean, I think that's literally what we're looking at to where it's, you know, yeah, I mean, I think I think the team has a very high ceiling, just given the talent, what they were able to do last year, and what yeah, like I said, like you hit on the head. We'll see what this coaching staff will be able to do as far as like making those changes in the slimmest of margins and, stealing possessions here and there and just finding ways to outcoach the opposition, in different ways. So they're gonna be put to the test early too.
Yep.
Um, you know, Oklahoma rolling in.
Which I think could play to our advantage
Mhm.
because I think who we got week one. I should know
Western.
Western. Knock on wood for us. We should be to get them. No questions asked. Very
Yeah.
vanilla offense, very vanilla defense. Get in and out, 42-10. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, my hope is that we ran such a generic vanilla thing that when we pop up versus Oklahoma, we can have a couple of series pre-scripted that they don't even know like what hit them. We got Bryce keeping it. We got Bryce on the bootleg. We got maybe a trick play worked in, whatever. And we can maybe in the first quarter be sitting there at you know 2 touchdowns and a field goal, and they haven't seen this type of offense yet before everything's even settled down.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's the benefit of getting a team like that early is if by week 6 you're going to know pretty much everything we can do, but by
Yeah.
week 2 you don't even know what we have yet, you know, and you can
Yeah.
unleash him, and he could legit have a Vince Young, Cam Newton type game,
For
and because
sure.
this is how they're going to use him this year. We don't even know that. This
Kind
is
of like
how
a
they.
coming out party. So yeah, just because. Yeah, man. I will. I think that's one. You get over that hump.
And
Like,
that's a big one because you get the momentum, you feel good about
yeah.
yourself.
You look at like obviously you don't want looking ahead, all that, this, that, and the third, but like you get that one. I mean, you got some flexibility in the schedule.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you seen the old boy from Oklahoma. He got. I seen a picture of him. He was so yoked. He looked like he was on steroids. Like he was either AI or steroids.
quarterback.
The John Mateer dude.
No, I didn't see him.
Him over be yoked. So I'm like, you gotta test this dude.
You
But
got to test him.
uh,
No, I didn't see it.
that might not be it might not be the best case. It might not work out for you. He try to get too slow. He can't. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, like I said, I get too far ahead. We got in general. I just want to see what they can do. Look like Whittingham has always kept solid quarterback play around. This
Hmm.
looks like this might be what I've read at least.
Yeah.
They're saying it might be like arguably a top 5, top 3 roster that he's ever coached. And that's on a down year for us, or like, not a particular up year. So,
Yeah.
all that considered, and, I just think we could be kind of the dark horse to maybe make a little bit of noise, depending on how, just like we talked about, depending on how a couple of those things go. If Bryce really can inch it up 30% better play,
I mean, yeah.
you know, if he can be settling this year legit, I'm not even going to say nothing crazy. If he can give us 2,500 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 10 picks,
Hmm.
300 on the ground, a couple more touchdowns.
Yeah. 'Cause I think for me, first and foremost, make sure this run game, let's lean on that. And then when we get later in the season, like it's all right, Bryce, like we might need you to go win one. When it's Oregon or Ohio, Indiana, but like you said, it I don't know. I mean, I keep saying it, but it's crazy that it's just a small couple tweaks here. Things could be they could look a lot different. They could look very, very good this season. And I brought it up, before you jumped on too. One thing that has me too, Urban Meyer, this guy's under Urban Meyer for years. So I mean, we see what he's done respectively. He's probably public enemy number one in Ann Arbor, but we've seen what he's been able to do. I got him at, Whittingham, seeing his success, what he's able to do in 3 different conferences. I mentioned he won, multiple conference championships.
Yeah.
So he's got to, I mean, I imagine it's gonna
I mean, I think I looked. They said he had. Yeah, I mean, they said he got a Rose Bowl out there. I think he had an Orange Bowl win, a couple. Like you said, a
and we're
couple
going
conference championships.
going toe to toe with Ohio, toe to toe with Oregon, just Penn State. They was hanging around Penn State until they lost a quarterback. I mean, like he definitely knows what he's doing. So he just, yeah, I mean, hopefully, this is the Big Ten though. Not to say
It's
the
different.
Pac-12 is but it's a different animal. It's a little it's real every week. Um, but yeah, no, looking forward to that. We'll end up doing schedule prediction for the season the next couple weeks when it comes to Michigan, and then obviously our Detroit Lions will kind of shift gears here all
Undefeated.
together. We say?
Undefeated. No, sorry.
Oh. Hey, wouldn't 11-1 don't sound. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, just to talk about our Lions. It's the last time we be on. I had a little bit happen. We a little bit deeper into training camp. Jameer Gibbs. Everybody's kind of he wasn't at practice and he's kind of holding in. Got a little bit of a back issue, but finally got his money, well deserved. So but now it's time to, uh, it's workhorse time. They had a solid preseason game. Was able to watch a decent amount of it. I just like, I walk in the crib, got Joe Burrow on the ground.
Immediately. Yeah.
You know, we're back. So looking forward to seeing what kind of talent. Some guys been injured last year coming in, some new guys, got some corner, some draft picks that are out there. But yeah, I mean, I guess, we can start off with the Jahmyr Gibbs contract. What you think about that?
Yeah, so I'm glad it wasn't drug and prolonged like longer than it was, because I think that was, it just you hate you just hate for it to happen. You go out there, but regardless,
Hmm.
um, this is my honest opinion on it. I think it might be. I think if you're going to play the strong, tough man game, like I don't think if we were the Cowboys wouldn't have signed him this early. They would have made his ass get franchise tagged and drug it all
Yeah.
on this and this. But I think so. I think in the sake of taking care of your players you love, I think we did right by that. I think you're paying him while he has a lot of tread left on the tires. And I think they're going to make him earn it, like we talked about before we hopped on. So
Hmm.
overall, I'm satisfied with it. It wasn't a complete, you know, back up the brink truck to him type situation, but he got paid healthy amount. I do think you probably are going to pay him less. You end up paying him less now than if you would have waited. I think
Yep.
unless you did the franchise tag and just let him go type situation. But the last thing I'll say, and as far as whatever is, I read that after this contract, we have the third highest paid offense in the league, or some shit like that. So the
It's time to go
offense,
win. It's time to go win one, huh?
you're going all in, all the chips in on offense.
Got about three years to do it.
Yeah.
Two, 2 to 3. But yeah, no, yeah, I mean, I think as soon as we saw Bijan Robinson, we're like, all right, now it's just a matter of tomorrow, next week.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think it's a good, like 3 year extension. He had 2 more years on a regular deal.
Yeah.
So this don't kick in, right? We got guaranteed money, but then like the rest of it don't kick in for a couple of years. I think a lot of these teams they just kind of they put all on a credit card basically. And just, you win one, it's kind of way of, paying it off essentially. So no, I think I think he definitely could be a guy, 13, 12, 1,300 rush yards, 900 receiving yards. I think he's still just kind of scratching the surface. Um, and it's gonna be fun just because we've kind of seen him be the bell cow, but it's kind of still been like, last year was like 70-30. Previous year, Montgomery got hurt and he stepped up, but now it's gonna be his show from the jump. And I don't know, it's just it's dope. You see him because he's up there with the CMCs, the Saquons, the Derrick
Mm-hmm.
Henrys. Like him and Bijan, they are, arguably can make a case to be top three running backs in the league. So we'll see what he's got. But yeah, offensive player of the year. I mean, I think we gotta, we won't talk too much. Got to see how things play out. But favorable schedule. I think the O line will be a lot better. See what he can do.
Yeah. No, I think in it makes sense. I mean, JMO got paid. Same, Brian, like they're paying the players they drafted. So
Hmm.
I think the bigger picture, it does put the pressure on the offense to go ahead and get it done. Like they gotta, with that many high caliber, high big ticket items across the board. From the quarterbacks to both the receivers, the running back. I think it's time to go back and produce like you were 2 years ago. Let's say at this point.
Yeah.
I think that is. I think they are wanting the pressure. I guess just kind of to transition. Some of the other things you're hearing, just the just lifeblood of the team, the offensive line. Uh,
Hmm.
the biggest probably story of the whole since we haven't discussed would be Kate Mays going down. Would be the biggest free agent we had signed. They're talking about like an 8 to 10 week thing, which puts them at it's like 4 or 5 games. Um, Seeing how this happened like a week or two ago at this point. So yeah, um, but I think that is figuring out that and making sure that the offense can still hum and you're not, because I think one that could cost you a game right there,
Oh, for
theoretically.
sure.
Yeah, so
we
I think
saw. I mean,
yeah,
last year, I mean, there's a lot of like, I mean, that interior line was getting whooped on. So yeah, I mean, I will say, I think we can kind of just start to talk about this, so the preseason game and some of the standouts and
Mhm.
such. A lot better spot, health wise. I think like talent wise around the offensive line. Love Graham Glasgow, but my man's was, I mean, he probably was as bad off as Frank Ragnow as far as just injuries to where,
Yeah,
I mean, he just couldn't, Taylor Decker, arm falling off, as soon as he missed that Christmas game against the Vikings, as soon as I saw he was out, I knew it was over. Hate to say it, but I think this year, I think one of the things Cade May is going to suck, but just how we look at the injuries, hey, better now than like week 12. I mean, it's just kind of, we got, it'll be about a month before the season even starts,
hmm
and you'll see what he can do about, getting back there. We'll have a bye week, like week 7. So like, might work out to where he'll be right around 10 weeks to be back against the Packers, something like that. So we'll see what happens there. But I do think it's just great that we have, the guy Seth McLaughlin that played in the preseason game. He started.
yeah.
He's he started at Bama. He was he won the best center award, All-American multiple times. He had a bad game against Michigan, the
That is
Rose Bowl.
his claim to fame. That is,
But
but
hey,
yeah,
that guy had a lot of NFL guys on that offense, that defensive line. We don't think we'd all be snapping the ball the same way he was. So but hey, he goes to Ohio, wins it all there. Did tear his Achilles a couple years ago. Um, I think he's probably like a step up from what we had last year at center, to where it's like, okay, we had a serviceable placeholder that can get better as the season goes on. You do have Juice Scruggs that plays center in Houston. He's got some flexibility there, but it was good seeing McLaughlin. Some of the stuff he did was solid in the preseason game. So
yeah,
make that happen. But yeah, I think overall, man, I mean, I was impressed by Ahmad Hassanin. I mean, this is a guy, 7th round pick. Anything he does is going to be a plus. He looked really good. And this preseason football disclaimer, he looked great. Guy Keith Abney, I know Terry and Arnold, we haven't talked a ton about that, but maybe we found a gem, a defensive back that can, make an early impact. Got, DJ Reed on the other side. I think there are some guys that kind of stuck out, quite a bit, some veterans too that played quite a bit preseason, that game against the Bengals that has me once again preseason, but I think depth wise and talent wise feel a lot better about what I saw um, from the secondary and other areas of the team last Thursday.
yeah.
I'll talk a
Because Hassan, I think those sacks because he got Burrow down, so I imagine they have Burrow out there with what they project to be the starting offensive line. They're not going to
Yeah,
roll him out there, but so
right.
you
Absolutely.
and for his role, you know, if you could be a third down specialist and finish the year with 4.5 sacks, 5 sacks,
Hmm.
that's really the type of role we need from you is just to come out, give Derek Moore, give Hutch a breather, and then you go and disrupt it. So I think
Yep.
it would. I remember people hyping him up last camp, and I know he must have had I think he had an injury, and then so the fact that he got back, rebounded, got Burrow on the ground, those are all positive signs. So they say he's a bit of like just kind of a freak, like he's big, fast. So having those type of players cooking in the background never hurts,
Depth. Yeah.
especially a guy that we're not, unlike the McLaughlin, that we're not necessarily, we don't need you right now. So if you can come in
Right.
and play very sparingly and give it your all, um, so I think those are great signs. I personally was surprised they had Burrow out there, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
well, they always start out so slow. They have all these issues. Well, I mean, it starts with their own line. I mean, we joke about the Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell thing, but that's a real thing. I mean, look at how banged up he's been since they made that decision. But yeah, so they trying to get a fast start in the season and everything. But whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think like you said, seeing how the defense played. I think they got a field goal, and you're playing. These are like the twos and the threes. Like there's some of the guys from the Lions on the field that probably won't make that won't make definitely won't make the team. But he stuck out. It was great to see Ennis Rakestraw. He did get a little banged up. He was just a bruise, but he was getting kind of picked on. But hey, 5 tackles. Throwing his body in there. Trying to do what he can to show what talent he had. Seen him, checking JMO pretty well in practice. I mean, JMO probably out there not trying, but it's I just you start to see some of these guys we were waiting on. I think the highlight for me was the guy Keith Abney. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, he might have had an interception, but he was making some plays coming up to hit.
Yeah,
And
flying
I
around.
always yeah, I always kind of go to Twitter because that's where I feel like they'll kind of sort of tell you. Like, I mean, a lot of people be like, kind of surprised he dropped all the way to where he did. It was really, really good corner at Arizona State.
Yeah.
So it's
No, I
yeah,
know
exciting to see it.
people been hyping him up since we took him. Like I remember
Yeah.
because I think in his highlight tape, he's the one who kept doing the seatbelt shit the whole time.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, no, so he is very, no, he looks good, and another one of those guys where, well, maybe Enos Ringstraw, but just getting like game reps like this is for a younger player, a player that has a lot of
Critical.
kind of hot and cold. I think just the more reps, the better. The more reps, the better.
hmm
You know,
I mean, Jalen
not
looked like Bambi out there when he first, coming off the injury, barely. I mean, he was looking at me like he was struggling. So some of these guys got to they got to slow their mind down and like they got to slow their body down and just kind of get used to the speed. And they should be solid.
no, I think, but I, the defense, I think the question I have at the offensive line is, can we protect the middle for the run game / Jared Goff? I think that's
hmm
the question for the offense. And we have all the, we got the Ferrari and the Lambo and whatever. It's just, do we got the big horses up front for when it snows? So I think, um, and as far as on the defense, front seven, I feel pretty damn good about. Um, you know, Linebackers, cool.
Yeah.
You insert Jimmy Roder, you win an upgraded D line with Derek Moore. Hutch, what he can do. You got Tilly Williams from last year, just who had big flashes. So I think front seven is legit. It's
hmm
the secondary that I just think it has a lot of question marks, and depending on what that O line would do, sorry, D line, depending on what the D line front seven can do as far as wrecking havoc, will do
Critical.
wonders on the secondary back end, and as far as especially pre-branch, if Kirby Joseph back in action, I think we're gonna really need them to be getting pressure. They can't. If it's the worst case where we have like years past where the quarterbacks are still getting 4.5, 3.5 seconds, and we got this
Yeah,
quarterback unit, it's gonna be a long, long little stretch there.
for sure. I got the depth chart up now just to kind of because I mean I agree. I mean, but I love I think we all applauded just as a collective when we saw Derek Moore get drafted. Yeah, this
Yes.
guy too, other guy too, DJ Wanham. I mean, he's a Brad Holmes special. Call it what it is. His injury issues, real twitchy, solid. Solid player. Um, it didn't really jump off the screen last year as far as like production, but like solid guy from what people I watch and what they've said about him. But I think just kind of looking at the secondary because probably going to be without Branch and Joseph. And that's where I think that's where defense really really started to fall apart when they got hurt.
Yeah.
Um, but you got these guys, Avonte Maddox, Chuck Clark, got some solid veterans that you hope can at least hold water. Uh, I did like this guy we got this safety from Georgia that was making a lot of plays. And I don't know, I mean, Branch, he probably not gonna be available until like November.
Sin had some moments, like
Yeah, Dan
what it's
Jackson,
worth.
he's pretty you seen him, he played really, really well last year
Mm-hmm.
for he played a lot of snaps, but yeah, I mean I like the guy Chuck Clark, Avonte Maddox, he's a Detroit kid, he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, he played pretty well last year. Chuck Clark, I believe he came from Baltimore.
Okay.
Um, Played pretty well. Just like where he came from. So we don't know a ton about him, but hopefully these guys can kind of come in and just hold water. For that first 6 weeks of the season, 6 to 8 weeks of the season, because the schedule is comfy. We ain't gonna taking every team seriously, but it is a little comfy. You got the Saints. I think we can go get the Bills. I think they gonna have all this going on with the new stadium and everything, the great jerseys. I think we can go hit them right in the mouth on Thursday. Um, you got some winnable games. The Jets come to Detroit after that.
Yep.
Cardinals, and then you got to buy. Yeah, you got one other team in there. I'm blanking on right now, but bye
Yeah,
week, and you
no,
got the Packers.
no, hell yeah, no. Yeah, you can keep it together. It's just a matter of getting it right. Not
Yep.
you know, and then figuring out our strengths and weaknesses earlier than we did last year. I think
Yep.
offensively, we just were dead set on doing some things that weren't working and didn't abandon sooner rather than, those little type of things, just in-game adjustments, in-season adjustments is, I think, going to save us or not save us at times this year.
Right.
um, no, and I think, damn, I had something I was going to say when you were mentioning all those players, but I can't even think about it. But no, in general, I feel like those investments in the D line is gonna pay wonders. I think Derek Moore will quickly become a fan favorite, and I feel very confident in saying that Will's
Oh yeah.
gonna, you know,
We know
when
we
each
know
of
him
them,
for years.
maybe week one versus Saints, each of them got, Hutch got two and he got one. They're gonna be like, damn, we should have ended this. We should have. Um, yeah. So
They was racing to get to the quarterback. And I don't know. For what it's worth, we kind of jumping around here before we got a little more time left. But Chuck Clark, PFF grade last year, 70. Solid. Vontae Maddox last year, 79.
mm.
So, I mean, we,
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So on Twitter, they were saying the Baltimore Ravens has like a whole room full of capable cornerbacks that they're gonna have to cut, and so
mm,
they might be willing to will and deal for some, So maybe you can give up I haven't even looked at what they said, but like you said, a reliable source on Twitter was talking about it.
yeah.
So
It's
maybe you
Evan,
give up a
Evan,
little fifth,
Evan
sixth round pick
Sittery.
to grab up one of them. Yeah,
Yeah. No, man. I mean, hey, that's great. It's a great point. But yeah, I think all things said, the roster is top five.
it's up there.
Hutch gonna do what Hutch does. I mean, right, we kind of just kind of reiterated some of this stuff, but the line looks strong. Got a lot of pass rush. You got some depth there. Um, I mean, it's
Top end
going.
talent is up there with anybody. Like in
Yep.
this, um, and especially if Hutchin can go from good player to he's better than a good player, but if he can niche that up into the upper teens, that 17, 18, 19 versus the 14,
Yeah.
that D line, that defensive unit's a different team.
Oh
Uh
yeah.
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 So
I mean,
it's there.
yeah. Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez. I mean, at least what it looks like here on paper. You might get a nod. I mean, as a starter, that Sam linebacker.
Got Rotor. Got
Who?
Jimmy Rotor.
Oh, Adrian Roder. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully hamstring. I don't know how long he's gonna be out with that, but
Yeah. I'm just
I
saying in
think
general, just guys that we know. I feel pretty confident
mhm.
he can come in and give you some snaps. He can,
Whenever, yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
But
But
no,
yeah, I like the blend of solid depth, veteran players, young guys, coming in, getting after it, or 2, 3 years in, waiting to show what they got. It's gonna be exciting. We'll be doing that schedule prediction next couple of weeks here. Um, yeah, other than that,
sure.
that's all I got.
No,
You got
for
anything
sure. For sure.
else?
Yeah, we'll be back at you next week. Like you said, schedule prediction, and then we should be in this steady flow once these games come back on. We should be what's one I'm looking for? It's been a desert out here throughout these
Yeah.
holidays. It's been
Yes. Yeah.
but
Content
no,
wise, yeah. But no, we got some preseason games to look forward to. Michigan Tech kicking off here in a couple weeks. Yeah, we'll be with y'all next week to talk Michigan's schedule and record prediction.
yes, sir.
Peace.